Welcome back, everyone. Now, this is a collaboration, putting the talents of Rich Kaplan and Rocco Pasafume from two different angles. Great tragedy was when we lost a great talented singer, Jim Croce. And Rich is going to talk about the actual plane crash, how the great Jim Croce lost his life. And Rocco's going to touch on where Jim Croce was in his career, his musical career. So we're going to come at it from two really interesting angles. We'll start with Rich. Let's start with Rocco and talk about the brilliance of Jim Croce and where he was when unfortunately he lost his life.
Yes, Jim Croce was a singer-songwriter in the late 60s. It was during an interesting time in music where, everything was kind of shifting more from, your basic good time dance music to something more serious about, social issues and all that. And Jim Croce was one of the perennial artists that was a part of this. Jim Croce was pretty much riding high, he had 2 #1 hits, and he was in the middle of a tour when this whole unfortunate scenario, which my partner Rich will go into great detail for you. Thank you.
Thank you. The aircraft that Jim Croce was flying was a former military trainer known as a Beech 18. The Beech 18 is a twin-engined, radio-powered turboprop. It is capable of carrying about 10 people. The aircraft never really made it off the ground. He got airborne, but he clipped a sign on the airport grounds and exploded into a fireball. Now, from an investigative standpoint, I researched this crash. My determining factors are as follows. The aircraft was imbalanced in load. Now, I'm going to later touch base when I do the clipper takeoff segment on a term we use called laminar flow. Laminar flow is the air hitting the wing of an aircraft at a precise angle to generate lift. When you do not have enough laminar flow, you are not going to get off the ground. You are going to hit the ground like a stone. And that is what happened in this case. It is tragic, it is incredibly unfortunate, but it's not uncommon. As I explained last week, we had a similar situation in the deaths of the Big Bopper himself, Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens, because their laminar flow was affected by a microburst created by a thunderstorm. Thundercells are notorious for creating wind shear and thus creating microburst activity that causes the aircraft to literally drop out of the sky. Now, I don't want to scare anybody watching. The skies are safe, but this does happen. And what's important is for pilots to know their load limitations on an aircraft. For example, a Boeing 747, the maximum takeoff weight, I believe, is 483,579 pounds. If you go over that limit, the aircraft becomes tail heavy, it scrapes the ground, and literally, it will not get airborne. If it does get airborne, it'll drop out of the sky. We saw this at a crash at an airbase involving a National Airlines Boeing 747-400, National Air Cargo, I believe it was. This aircraft had the load shift while taking off, and what happened was the plane lost its laminar flow and slid right into the ground, killing the pilot. That is what happened to Croce. Thank you, Rocco.
And thank you, Rich.
All right, now we'll do Rich up there.
Yeah.